Hi, this is Michael Gast, and this is my Theory to Practice Part 2 presentation, in which I explored social media's impact on depression and anxiety in students with a focus on adolescent students. The issue is with the increased access and use of smartphones and social media since the early 2010s, there has been an increase in mental health concerns among the young people in the United States. From an NPR podcast, the host mentioned take hanging out with friends face to face. For decades, the time teens spent socializing in person stayed pretty steady. But then in 2010, it nosedived. In the same podcast, Jean Twenge, I was a psychologist at San Diego State University, mentioned across the board since 2010, there have been increases in anxiety, depression, and loneliness. This coincides with an increased access of smartphones and along with that social media throughout the 2010s and to present day. The controversy surrounding this issue would be the limitations of studies due to a lack of causality, self-reported data, and small sample sizes. Also, on the opposite side of this would be the benefits of smartphones, the use of technology, particularly with use of those in the classroom. So this is certainly impacting students in the United States, though other developed countries with similar smartphone usage have similar issues. The UK would be one such country in which they are facing similar challenges to that from the United States. There's a poll from the Pew Research Center that finds about 95% of teens now use some social media, and about a third say they use it constantly. The short and long-term consequences of social media and depression and anxiety, with increased access, there's an increased correlation to mental health concerns. There was an MIT study done with Facebook, and this has been the foremost study up to this point because the data set allows it to see the increasing usage of Facebook because Facebook was rolled out kind of gradually across different campuses from when it was introduced. So concurrent with Facebook's meteoric expansion has been growing concern over the well-being of adolescents and young adults. According to data from the CDC, the suicide rate among 10 to 24-year-olds was stable from 2000 to 2007. It then increased 57% between 2007 and 2017. So that coincides with the introduction of Facebook and increasing usage of it. Researchers posit that social comparison with peers is behind those results, and it is an effect that appears to grow stronger as people are exposed to Facebook for greater lengths. And that last quote there can certainly be connected to implications for adolescent development that we looked at in week 3 as well. Frances Hogan was known as the Facebook whistleblower when she left the company in 2021 to expose the algorithm, among other things, that Facebook uses in targeting their users. And she outlined 3 ways to address these problems on Facebook: ban targeted ads to children under 16 years old, dedicate more resources to fight fake news and hate speech, and third, keep children under 13 off the platform. Of note here of the last way, most tech companies require users to be at least 13 years old. However, nearly 40% of kids between the ages of 8 and 12 use social media. Recently, our Surgeon General Vivek Murthy's report urged policymakers in the companies that make the social media platforms to share with parents the burden of managing children's and adolescents' social media use, with the thought that it cannot just be parents looking to help this situation. Twenge, once again, a professor of psychology at San Diego State, suggested that the age minimum should be set at 16 rather than 13. The part one of my theories into practice, I mentioned Powell quoted in Brinegar and Caskey discussing young adolescents' high or low self-esteem depending on how they compare themselves with their peers. So that is certainly something that adolescents are doing as they are interacting with different social media platforms. And then I went on to kind of personally reflect on the article and included looking at some per se at-risk students within my classroom, saying these are the students that I leave school thinking about. These students include those that are often isolated, with their eyes buried on their phones and no interest in anything I have to say. So there's more to these students that I think educators often do not see, and that is often in their personal lives. And social media may play into that and how they are comparing themselves with their peers, or how their peers are speaking about them on different social media sites. That is often difficult for educators to see. On the Notice and Wonder project, I pointed at the statistic 95% of children having internet access at home, either through a computer, through a smartphone, or both, which is up from 2016. Coincidentally, in the Surgeon General's 2023 report, 95% of teens between the ages of 13 and 17 say they use a social media platform. So while there are certainly many benefits of technology and the use of internet access at home, we can still see some risks involved with smartphone usage and internet access on social media beyond the classroom. A couple of peers within my discussion group, Brianna noted the time of adolescence, an individual's frontal lobe, the area that manages their personality, emotions, judgment, etc., is not yet fully developed. The access to social media during the stage of development certainly weighs on an individual's personality and emotions and his ongoing development throughout their adolescence. Another peer, Kelly, discussing the Uso et al. Article, noted the article emphasized the importance of creating safe, scaffolded environments for adolescents to take positive risks. I think this is an excellent point. But in reflecting on this idea and looking at smartphone social media usage, I think there's some concern that our adolescent students may not have a safe environment online. This begs the question as to how we can overcome the challenges of smartphones and social media in order to help provide a more safe environment in our school systems. So if students do not have a safe environment beyond our classroom walls or our school walls, online and through social media sites, it's difficult for us within the classroom to make those at-risk students feel safe to learn in our classrooms. The implications for development. Moreno mentioned children and adolescents will communicate attitudes and values by defining explicitly or implicitly what behaviors are unacceptable, acceptable, or cool, reinforcing acceptable behaviors and punishing unacceptable behaviors. These attitudes and values are amplified on social media and carried out in adolescents' daily lives. And again, there's so much hidden from educators through social media that is impacting how they are being developed socially and certainly emotionally as well. The development of the self, including self-concept, self-worth, collective self, for many adolescents is often linked to their social networks. While this may work out for some, and perhaps a majority, there are serious pitfalls involved. In the Jansen and Kiefer article, Noel, Magic Weinsberg, Spiekenbrink, Blakemore, Yeager were mentioned with the idea, the need for peer acceptance, the desire for respect by teachers and peers, and a fear of social rejection motivates many adolescents. And one can see this throughout social media or adolescents' use of social media, and it's going to continue to be a growing concern as we move forward, and hopefully one in which we can learn to handle effectively and allow students to have that safe environment and really thrive in our classrooms.